Hey guys, this is Adam Wolf and welcome to Canis Awakening. So I wanted to start off the new year. We've had a lot of sort of major shifting going on. I want to start off the new year with five kind of easy tips to help with developing self-awareness and sort of living a more intentional life. So we're going to go ahead and just jump right in. Tip number one is in for four, out for four breathing. It is a pattern of breathing that is designed to kind of calm you down and kind of bring you back to center. Meditation can be a really wonderful way of getting you more in touch with yourself, with your body, what you need, and helping you to kind of check in with yourself and figure out what's going on. So the technique that I use, anytime that I start to feel a trigger, where I feel like I just need to calm down, is in for four, hold for four, out for four, hold for four. And that's it. It's just a really quick way of just kind of checking in, making sure you have a bit of space between something that is emotional or a stimulus in your environment and your response or reaction, so that we're able to take a bit more time and still feel our emotions, but detach from them a little bit so we can start to kind of question what's going on internally and then choose how we would like to move forward. Tip number two is gratitude. Working gratitude into your daily routine. Now, I'm a big advocate for having a routine in general because I think it helps you to be able to just kind of set a pattern, a little bit of a ritual, kind of getting things started. That was almost going to be its own tip, but I'm going to just stick with gratitude. You're going to want to do it first thing in the morning or last thing at night, or my personal preference is to do a quick one first thing in the morning and last thing at night. So this might be writing down a couple of things that you're grateful for in a gratitude journal. It might be saying a few things out loud to yourself in the mirror every morning when you wake up. It might be sitting down with your partner or spouse, or just when you're waking up in the morning and saying, one thing that I feel grateful for today is, I don't know, blueberries. What about you? And listening to their response and kind of taking that in. It's a really great way to get you started on the right foot in your day and being able to kind of put you in a positive frame of mind, raise that vibration, get you to a point where you're able to focus positively right off the bat. Even if it's not the biggest thing, like I'm grateful for, a life that's worth living, just little things. Could be blueberries, like I said. Could be that your neighbor got a puppy and sometimes you get to see it going for walks and that makes you feel happy. The way I like to do it is I like to do first thing in the morning, I'll write down 5 things that I'm grateful for. And I usually like to post them on my Instagram in the morning, in my Instagram story, so look for those if you follow me on Instagram. And then in the evening, I usually will, right before bed, I'll actually go to the mirror and I'll say 5 things that I'm grateful for in the mirror. And I will literally say, I am grateful for X, or I really appreciate, or I really liked today that Y. Having that kind of framework and saying that way helps me to kind of like feel it a bit more viscerally. And take it in. And the reason why I like to do that again right before bed is so that I'm able to kind of really, when we go to bed at night, that kind of vibrational state that we're in kind of informs how we wake up in the morning. You might notice sometimes if you've kind of taken your time before you go to bed and resting and go to bed in a decent mood, you might feel a little bit better than you did the day before. So that kind of thing. So I like to do it right before I go to bed. I'll just say 5 things. And it's just the goal of this is not to kind of get you to think deep necessarily or to spend a lot of time on it, although that can be helpful depending on where you're at. It's just to get you to kind of check in with yourself and remind yourself that there are positive things in your environment, things to feel good about. Tip number 3 is to find your why power. What I mean by that specifically is a lot of times in life we kind of do a lot of things that we feel like we're supposed to do, or we kind of tend to kind of numb out a bit if it's something that we do every day. And it can kind of lead to a bit of sort of like a drudgery feeling, or this kind of like, oh, I have to because I'm supposed to, or that's just how things are done. I find that really kind of blocks us from really living our best life and being able to kind of consciously make meaning that is helpful to us. So I would say for anybody, taking some time to be present with yourself and kind of reflecting on what feels meaningful to you, what drives you in life, what makes you go, yes, that's something that means something to me, or yes, that's something I'm excited about. Again, it doesn't have to be the giant things like social justice or equality or changing the world or anything like that. It could be as simple as family or honesty or living from a sense of integrity. But what you're going to want to do is kind of sit down and spend some time kind of reflecting on what motivates you, but also ask yourself why. So if you notice that you feel, family is really important to me, it's just, It's just really important. It may be that you have kind of picked that value up from your parents or grandparents and kind of gotten passed down. Um, and it may be that you find that there were actually a lot of strings attached to things when you were younger, and you just had to do stuff because of family. Family first, or we support each other in this house. And regardless of whether or not that was actually a positive message, there may be a lot of strings or toxicity attached to that. Sometimes we can just kind of internalize those messages we get from our caregivers and parents. It's important to just kind of question that. Say, what does that feel like to me? Where do I feel that in my body? How do I know that that's right for me? What does that feel like for me? And it may very well be that you do feel that family is a value that you carry, but it's important to kind of check in with yourself and question that so that you're able to choose that consciously. And I would say anytime that you find yourself in a place in life where you're not sure about something, or you're choosing between two different things, you might feel drawn towards a sense of kind of like freedom and exploration on one hand, versus commitment and maybe connection on the other. And it can be just really good to kind of have an understanding of where your personal values are for you, so that you're able to, so that they're able to inform your actions moving forward. The point is, you have the ability to kind of check in with yourself and ask why. So I find that can be really helpful to have that kind of understanding of your internal kind of values and your internal, again, why power. So I would highly recommend that, just as an exercise that you can do to kind of get more in touch with yourself. And also remember that this is something that is malleable and can change over time. So it may be that family was never important to you, and then as you get older, new experiences kind of inform your life, and you're like, well, damn, like this is actually something that I really care about and I'd like to cultivate more of. You always have the ability to kind of change that. It's a very fluid thing, but it can be helpful to consciously check in with yourself so you know what's driving you, and it's not doing so unconsciously. Tip number 4, allow yourself to rest and nourish yourself. Now, a lot of people, when I tell them that they need to meet their needs and take it easy or allow themselves to rest, actually will get very emotional, because the fact of the matter is, a lot of us were trained when we were younger to ignore our needs, to push things away, to say like, oh, I'll man up, or I gotta buckle down, or you just gotta keep working, or grind those gears. And a lot of us are trained to kind of like push and push and push away our needs, to stay up late to finish that essay, to shut up if your boss says something that bothers you. A lot of us are trained to deprioritize our needs. And the fact of the matter is that needs to change if we want to be able to live a life that feels really nourishing and worth living. You have to start taking care of you. You are the one at the end of the day that is in charge of you. And, I think it's so important to be able to give yourself the tenderness that you deserve, because you do deserve tenderness and you do deserve compassion. And if you notice that you have this kind of like upset inside you, or this kind of discomfort, kind of feeling into that and saying like, well, what's going on for me right now in my body? Maybe I'm feeling hungry. Let's go meet that need. Or maybe I'm just feeling discouraged. Maybe like check in with myself and see if I'm actually spending my energy in a way that feels good to me, or if I'm doing something because I have to do it. Really allowing yourself, there's this popular topic of self-care, and self-care is something that's deeply important to me. And it's something that I work with people on and kind of like to try to help cultivate. But it can be this kind of like flash glam, like, self-care day, go get yourself a latte and buy yourself some comfy slippers and go to the spa. Those can all be wonderful things for self-care. And there's a very different sensation in the body when you're trying to consciously check in and meet your needs and tend to your body and nourish it, and your heart and nourish it, versus when you are trying to run away from something, or trying to kind of make up for lost time and kind of cram stuff in there and just saying, oh, here's a cupcake, eat it and feel better, or drinking or something like that. It can be a way of, it's that sort of false self-care of like doing something so that your pain shuts up for a little while. That's not self-care, and it can be very tempting to think that it is, filling that hole with whatever is an easy fix. And it's not to say that it doesn't have its place, but I would encourage you to just check in and say, what are my actual underlying needs right now, and how can I get the sleep that I need? How can I make sure that I'm eating food that feels good to me and to my body? And, how can I more directly go for my needs and prioritize my needs and take care of myself and treat myself with tenderness and respect? Because a lot of times if I were to talk to my friends in the way that sometimes I talk to myself, you can bet I would have no friends, right? It's like, a lot of times we would never talk to our friends the way that we talk to ourselves. You would never tell your friend if they're having a problem to just shut up and deal with it. Or you would never tell your friends that like they're just being a wuss and they need to get over it, or they need to stop crying because it's stupid and they're worthless. No, you would never do that. So why are you doing that to yourself? Treat yourself like a friend. It's really important. Please. Okay. Number 5, our final tip for today, is to soak it in. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is, similar to gratitude, you're gonna wanna be able to start taking note of experiences that feel good to you. Be able to start taking note of things around you that bring you joy and bring you pleasure. And then again, this could be, the colored sprinkles that you get on your ice cream that just make you feel like, ooh, like there's these little sprinkles and they're so cute. And kind of like let that kind of actually permeate you and feel that. Or like, oh, that's a really good feeling. Or it could be, again, like, your neighbor get a puppy and he's just this little ball of wiggles and you just get to like, snuggle him sometimes, and that gives you a warm feeling. Really notice that and try to absorb that. Because what that's going to do is 2 things. One, on a more metaphysical or esoteric level, law of attraction, it's going to pull more of that to you, because what we focus on is what we get more of. So you're going to be focusing on things that are bringing you happiness and joy and connection and good, positive feeling emotions. You're going to be pulling more of those in because you're going to be noticing them more and taking them in. 2, on a more science-based level, the way that you focus really does impact what you notice in your life and what you start to pull more of into your life. In the same way that if you start out your day with a stubbed toe and a crappy mood, you're going to start to notice the way that your coworker really annoys you by chewing their gum. You're going to start noticing like how the printer is always out of ink again, and it's going to start, you're going to get a little bit more irritated as the time goes on. That's where things like that, breathing in for 4, out for 4, can be really helpful, to kind of like bring you back down to center. But if you notice, when you first wake up, you have this beautiful sunrise. Hopefully you're not waking up at sunrise, but you wake up. I haven't woken up at sunrise in a while. If you notice right when you wake up that maybe the song that wakes you up is one of your favorites on the radio, and you're like, oh wow, that's really cool. And then maybe you brew a cup of coffee and it's a really nice kind of aromatic blend, and you're like, ooh, that was just what I needed today. And then you go outside and get the paper and you say hello to your neighbor because you're feeling a little bit positive. You're more open to things, you're more interested in things, and you're going to be taking more of that in, you're going to be noticing more of the positive, and you're going to be taking more of those pathways that lead to more positive in your life. Also, the experience of positive emotional states can lead to a greater sense of well-being, and it can lead to more emotional positivity in your life. That's not to say to ignore, deny, dismiss, disown your negative emotions. We'll probably do another episode on that. But that is to say, if you feel something like gratitude, let that permeate your being. Be able to really soak it in. What is it about that makes you feel joy or makes you feel good or feel appreciated? How does love register in your body? Where does it feel in your body? What does it feel like? Does it feel warm? Does it feel fluttery? Does it feel, like blooming? Where in your body do you feel that? Maybe you don't feel it directly in your chest. Maybe you feel it in your hands. Maybe you feel it in your face. But pay attention to that. First of all, it's going to help you to get more aware of where those positive emotions are in your body and what that state feels like, so that you can intentionally cultivate that further down the line. But that's also going to help you to kind of pull in more of that positive benefit of actually experiencing the positive emotions, experiencing increased well-being in your life, and also being able to cultivate more of that in your daily life and further down the road. This has been Adam Wolf of Canis Awakening. If you like my content, feel free to like and subscribe. Also, check out my website. I do transformational coaching and different workshops and readings and things like that. I'm really excited to be bringing you guys some of these tips and tricks that have helped me along the way and kind of what I wish that I knew back in the day when I was a volatile little ball of fluff. So thanks so much for joining me. I hope you guys have a wonderful new year. I'm really excited to be here. I'm really proud of you guys, and I'm excited to see how we're all going to be blooming in the future. This has been Adam Wolf, and I hope you keep living what's alive in you. Bye.